Catherine, welcome back to Halloween Daily. It's so great to see you
Thanks,
again.
Matt. It's always good to see you.
Well, I mean, it's been a little while since the
Yeah.
last time we did this. It's been about 2 years, a little bit more, and you've been, of course, very busy since then. A lot of cool stuff going on, making movies, making podcasts, making music videos, and I want to talk a little bit about some of that stuff. But let's start with what brings you here today. Your current project right now, March 2025. You're hosting the debut of this new Shout TV series, Double Take.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's this new series where different I guess like celebrity or notorietable guests come in for Shout TV and curate their series of like double features from the Shout TV library, and each one has like different themes and different things that tie them together. And they have we do like different like trivia pieces. We do different like just facts about why the films are important to us. And it's all able to be viewed on the Shout TV app and like all their normal streaming platforms. But for mine, which I'm really, really excited about, it's
Mhm.
Women's History Month themed. So I think that's like such an honor. And, especially in genre, women are such a key part in the themes behind, women's experiences, be that like sexuality, motherhood, survival. They're always like so tied in, and that's a huge part, I think, for that informs my work in the genre space. But this has also been like a nice way to kind of talk about things that maybe genre fans don't know about that kind of exist outside that space, but touch on those same themes and kind of scratch that itch. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that.
Very cool. Now, can you tell us the films that you chose for this?
I'll talk about one and then I want them to tune in for the other one if that's helpful.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
the first one that I did is K-19. That's Catherine Bigelow, and it was before she
Oh,
was nominated for her Oscar for The Hurt Locker. And this is like horror fans might not be on the Catherine Bigelow train, but if they like, if you like action-packed, like kind of drama, like definitely some violence in that.
hmm.
Catherine Bigelow is your person. She is not only the first woman to win an Academy Award, but she focuses on military projects that are pretty male driven, which is kind of a badass thing that we in horror as women kind of take on all the time as well. The horror genre is not a stranger to celebrating women in action-packed spaces, but a lot of the mainstream cinema is. So that's why Catherine Bigelow is such a kind of trailblazer in that regard. And so like you can't talk about Women's History Month in cinema without talking about her. But then the other film is also directed by a woman, but features like a kind of moment in history that was and again it's 60s, 70s, so we're not like talking like way back, but it's
Right.
definitely a moment in history that was super poignant for women's rights, particularly in the UK. And the cast in this film is so unbelievable. And it's like kind of before they popped off. So I'll give like little hints, like it has to do with like Game of Thrones and like and there's
Okay.
and some actresses in the horror space like before they were giant household names. So it's like it's definitely worth watching. And I think what's cool about the series is that it highlights it not only allows you to watch these films, but to have this like understanding of films as you're experiencing them, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
um, horror fans are big collectors of physical media. I'm a collector of physical media, but that's a dying kind of thing in other parts of cinema, which is like so upsetting, and that the
Mhm.
moments where you could sit and like, I don't know about anyone else, but um, I part of my like entry into horror was me when I was um like I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 years old. And I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Yeah.
girl. So every year for Christmas, my mom would get me like a season on DVD. And not only would I like plow through every episode,
Mhm.
even though I'd already seen them, I would go back and watch like every special feature, every director's commentary, like everything I possibly, because it just like informs like the experience so much more. And we don't get that anymore, unfortunately, because outside of awesome horror fans, people don't consume physical media like that. So this is a way that you can kind of understand these films, you know, a little bit more. And I hope for horror fans it resonates, you know?
Well, it definitely sounds exciting. I mean, I love Catherine Bigelow too. Point Break, one of my favorites, and
Yeah.
she's awesome. And Near Dark. I mean, she's done a lot of awesome stuff. And that's a great point that you make, though, about I mean the physical media, but in this age of streaming, like there's a ton
Yeah.
of like Netflix shows and original movies that they own that I wish I could hear that director commentary.
Right?
I would love to like, get some more behind the scenes stuff of some of the streaming stuff that it's just been made for streaming and they've never put that stuff out there. And but yeah,
Yeah.
that's always been one of my favorite parts of owning the physical is being, the collector part of me, but then the film geek part of me too, just getting all that extra knowledge
Totally.
and
I mean, like,
and
also, the only way you're going to get that is if you're able to go to like screenings where you have directors and things
right.
talking about it. But what if you live like I grew up in Philadelphia. It was a major city, but we weren't getting like crazy, premieres all the time happening there where you can just go and pick the brain. And also like that's expensive. You want to be able to like understand this process. And it worries me, actually, that's why I think it's so important what Shout's doing, because it worries me that there's like a whole generation of filmmakers coming up who will never have that experience and will never understand the like trials and tribulations and the technicalities of making a film until they do it. And there's all these lessons to be learned, I'm good friends with James A. Janice and Chelsea Rebecca from Dead Meat. And, we have a podcast together. And Chelsea and I have geeked out so many times about like the Lord of the Rings. We're huge Lord of the Rings nerds. And how like that was like the thing that made us want to make movies. It was just like all the nuances of like the practical effects and the models and everything like that.
Yes.
When things go straight to streaming, even we miss that, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree totally. And so it sounds like you will be hosting and you'll be offering some commentary here and
Yeah.
there throughout
Yep.
and just kind of what was going on in the world at the time when the films were released and all that.
Yep.
And it's going to be those two films, and it comes out this month. Do you know what date it premieres?
March 21st.
Awesome,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, we're definitely going to be looking forward to that for sure. Now, while we've got you, a couple other things you've been involved in recently. First of all, I have to comment, really just commend you on your op-ed recently for
Thank
Fangoria.
you. Oh my
Um,
goodness, right. The last time I was on was my very first like published writing was with you. That was so fun.
yes, yes, that's right, that's right.
Uh-huh.
Um, and this if people don't know this recent Fangoria op-ed, it's all about just politics and horror and how it's always been there and since the beginning of film and even before the beginning of film and other forms of horror and I read it and it's just so well put together and researched and you go through and you really kind of zoom in on I think it's 40 different films, but then of course you
I
mention a
think,
whole
yeah,
lot more.
I made a little, I should drop it. I made a little spreadsheet because I'm such a loser. Like I should drop the spreadsheet and make it a little easier. But I focus on 40 films, but I think we like list 85 throughout
Yeah,
the like, it's freaking ridiculous.
yeah, and like we were just talking about the what Shout's doing, it sounds like one of the things I love most about the article is as you're going through the films, you kind of paint the picture of what was happening in the real world at the time these masterpieces that we all know and love were being created. Maybe you could talk just a little bit about putting all of that together and why it was important for you to put that out there right now at this moment in time and really you say it in the piece, but I think it is kind of a resource in a way, just for people to go to and say, oh, this is what was happening in the world at the time when these films came out.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. That means so much to me, and thank you for reading it because it is long.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh,
uh,
that's great.
I think I think right now we're in a period in that has happened, this is not the first time in the existence of the world that there has been political turmoil, that there have been people who have felt marginalized, that are not having access to the healthcare they need, that are not access to that are fearful for their rights, their ability to live here, to exist here, particularly queer people and immigrants. And while that doesn't take away from how dark that can feel for everyone right now, I think what is amazing about horror is I think Mick Garris said this on my podcast where he said, we've always been the forgotten stepchild of the entertainment or of cinema or of the entertainment industry.
Yes.
And part of in being that is that it allows us the ability to say things before other people will. It allows us to push boundaries, to challenge things, and to stand up for the underdog because we are the underdog, and I, recently online, myself and a lot of my colleagues, in the Terrifier universe have been getting a lot of pushback for our political allyship and affiliations. And I just wanted to kind of I'm sure if I'm getting that, there are people all over the world who are getting that in a much more extreme way. And I wanted to create kind of a way to bring us together and understand these stories, and it's interesting, like when I was putting it together, I was like, I felt like I talked to my mom on the phone about this. And my mom is not a horror fan, and we bonded over the movies that on that list that she loved and her
Yeah.
experience seeing them growing up. And she didn't even realize that, like, she didn't recognize it as horror at the time. It was just like something she did. And we had this whole conversation and like bonded over that. And I think if it does nothing else but allows you to sit down with the people you love and feel safe and connected, like here's a list of films you can do that with, which is crazy to think because some of these films are like crazy rides to watch, but it
Yeah.
really does do that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's a great list. Like I said, I mean, it's a really
Thank
great
you.
selection, and just a really cool way to look at these films, especially given world events. If you want to, because again, they can all be
But again, they can,
enjoyed,
yeah,
without going deep if you want, as we all know. But
yeah.
I being the film geek, I love
I love
knowing what
knowing,
was
right?
happening in the world when these films were
Yeah,
made.
I love knowing. And sometimes like some of these things are like what I was realizing in the list. I was like, gosh, like this was tackling gender identity
Yeah,
way before we were, and climate change. Like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds was tackling climate change before that was even a thing that was happening in modern politics. Like the journal that kind of was the watershed moment for that kind of science had just come out, like things like that are just like gosh, how progressive it is. I think this year with the Academy Awards, every year the Academy Awards happens, and there's a little bit of like disappointment that happens in the genre community because outside of really makeup and effects, they don't give us our flowers,
yeah,
and that's just kind of how it goes. And I think, Demi Moore was such a trailblazer and an icon this year, like for that there was a level of like disappointment. And not that Mikey Madsen is also not an amazing actress and a horror actress,
that's true.
just not in that performance. Um, but I think, it reminds you like how powerful these films actually are and what they're able to do. And in the fullness of time, like these become this is the comfort for you that these are the things that change cinema, and they did. And every major iconic director has tried to tackle horror, and some do very, very successfully and some don't. So like it's just a reminder that like there's a place for you. You're not alone in all of this, you know?
Absolutely, so well said. And I love, yeah, you say something along the lines in the editorial of horror, like Nick said, but like being the punk rocker outsider, and
Yeah, I
I
call
like
it
that,
the
always the
thrashing
underdog.
punk rockers, and I thought I call it
Yes,
like the punk rocker thrashing at the
yes,
gates of cinema.
that's it. I
And it
love it.
is though,
That's
like
awesome.
it really is. That's at the end of the day, that's the whole thing that when the zombies come for you, when, the demon monsters from hell, when the serial killers, whoever it is comes for you, um, horror is always a reminder that we're still worth fighting for, you know?
Hell yeah, damn right.
Hell
Well
yeah.
said. Um, I think we might have a minute or two left. If you can talk just a minute about another project you did since we talked. Well, we had a whole nother Terrifier movie come out
We
since our
did have a
last
whole other
conversation,
There's another
and
one in the works.
it made history, and
Keeps going.
the fandom is bigger than ever, and of course we got Art
All
over
right, right
here.
there.
And but you kind of had a reunion with Art and David, and with
I
the
did.
Ice Nine Kills video. Can you
I
talk just a
did.
little bit about that? We love them. We love the video. It was just so cool seeing you in it, and just the
Oh
whole thing
yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of, we talked about it, for a while. Spencer is one of my best friends. And so, he had been kind of toying with this for a long time and talking to me about it for a while. And, you know, he said to me, like, I want to do this, I'm going to do a song and I want the video to have, these are the kills. And I obviously want you to have the moment because I feel, there is no other moment. I gotta keep you at the top,
Yeah,
and I appreciate him
right.
wanting to do that. But it was funny because yes, there's footage and things of Jenna and I in the second film, and we've talked about it for the third and fourth films, but never like I've never been back on set since anything that's used in the other films is exclusively from the first film. So I've never been back on
Mhm.
set since we shot that in 2015. And it was such a whirlwind at the time. And, we didn't know what we were birthing, pun
Yeah,
intended. We really didn't know. Everybody else who's come in has had the privilege of knowing kind of what they're getting
yeah,
themselves into, but we certainly did not. I didn't realize what a moment that would be until we were there, and
mhm,
so when I remember, like, we got in, and of course we had like Chris Nelson, who is an Academy Award winning effects artist. He's incredible, agreed to come in and do the effects on it. And so I'm, with him getting prepped, and it's kind of a crazy day. And when we get into the first or a couple setups in, then David is ready, and David came in, and we had this like I got a little emotional, and I was kind of surprised. We looked at each other, and it's so funny because we're surrounded by all these like fans and extras, but like
yeah.
we kind of just looked at each other and we were like, "Hi, honey." Like, isn't this wild, And it was like such a weird full circle moment. And I guess someone caught that like on a BTS or on their phone or something. So I was able to send it to Damien, and he was like, I'm crying. Like, what? This is amazing. Like, yeah, I've never, he was like, gosh, I haven't seen you together in that way since this happened. And as it gets like bigger and bigger, I think that like relationship that, the four of us, David, Damien, obviously, Jenna, Sam, and myself have as like the core four that
Right.
were there and from the beginning has like definitely solidified how special that is, and like how cool it is to have created something that is now this behemoth, and people say is like such a part of like horror forever. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know, if it will stand the test of time, but gosh, what a cool cool ride to have birthed, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's awesome, and it's been awesome seeing it. I know there's going to be a lot more to come, and we've only touched on the surface of everything you've been involved in, but I know you're super busy today, and I think that's our time. But this has been awesome catching up
Thanks,
with you
Matt.
and
Always,
just hanging
always,
out again.
always.
Such a fan, and it's always great to see you, and we can't
Back
thank you
at
enough.
you. Back at you,
And
Matt. I'm sure I'll see you soon. I will have more
of
to
course,
come.
absolutely, we'll do it. We'll do it. The door is always open, as you know. And as always, instead of saying goodbye, we gotta wrap by saying Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. See you guys next time.